Today on the Bass channel, we're checking out the Gensler Magellan 800 and more importantly, their new Bass Array 2 cabinets. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you're not new, welcome back. Either way, we've made a couple changes to our signal flow that is going to be the same moving forward, but this is, I think, the first video that utilizes these changes. First off, every sound sample that you're going to hear was first recorded direct using a Radial JD7 into a Tascam Model 16 and straight into Logic Pro 10. From there, we're using the Radial JD7 once more to reamp the clean, raw, direct, pure, unadulterated, clean pickup signal through the amp and into both speaker cabinets. I've got a small array of what I think are some pretty popular bass microphones across the entire speaker range. On the 10-inch, right in that sweet spot between the cone and the dust cap, is the Sennheiser MD421. In approximately the same spot in that dust cap speaker cone sweet spot on the 15 is an AKG D112. And I'm picking up one 3-inch speaker per cabinet with an Electro-Voice RE20 and a Shure SM57. So before we continue, let's just kind of get a taste of what each of those microphones in each of those positions sounds like. So as I said a moment ago, the main attraction of this particular video is the new Bass Array 2 cabinets, but before we dive into those, let's talk a little bit about this Magellan 800 just so we can kind of understand what we're feeding these cabs. Gensler says that the Magellan 800 represents the pinnacle in the next generation of lightweight, high-output, versatile bass amplification. With years of research, design, and manufacturing expertise, Gensler developed this model utilizing stringent design parameters for form, function, fit, and finish. The result is an 800-watt, professional, high-powered, tour-class bass guitar amplifier weighing only 6.25 pounds. A quick overview of the front panel will show a pristine and articulate clean channel accompanied by a more driven tonal signature and harmonic texture from the drive channel. There's also an active 3-band EQ with a parametric mid-control, a mute switch, a pad switch, and of course the input jack. But in my opinion, one of the coolest features of this amplifier is the dual curve variable contour knob. Curve A gives you a classic to modern mid-scoop curve, whereas Curve B gives you a thicker to vintage low-mid bump with a tapered top end. And of course, the counterclockwise position is fully bypassed and leaves the EQ curve flat. So this is my first experience with anything from the Gensler line. Jeff Gensler actually reached out to me not too long ago asking if I'd be interested in checking out these cabinets and this amplifier head, and of course I was intrigued. I hate to use a buzzword here, but one of the first words that came to mind after dialing in a couple samples and just kind of hearing what this amp and cabinet combination have to offer, the first word that came to mind was transparency. Now I know that's a really big buzzword, but in a lot of these amp manufacturers, a lot of them have a character to the tone. Sometimes it's an extreme, drastic EQ curve to where almost no matter what bass you put into it, you're gonna get that brand sound. And not that that's not true here, but there is much more transparency. There's a lot more articulation, there's a lot more high-end clarity, and there's a mid-range to it that, especially when that contour is left flat, really brings out the true character of the bass, which I'm a big fan of because, as you can see or probably have known in the past, I'm a big fan of EMG pickups, and not only myself, but that company has kind of described their products as being a truer representation of what's happening at the interface of your fingers or pick and the strings. So much like the way I prefer that EMG kind of true to form sound, to not use the other word, the Gensler kind of does the same thing, to where it's still got, you know, a good character in the low end, and it's kind of eliminating some of the, for lack of a better word, ugly mid-frequencies that you wouldn't like, that you'd probably get with a DI signal. Obviously, having those speakers is going to give you a bump in the lows and sort of tame a little bit of those less than desirable mids. But hearing the entire array, the entire array of these speakers in this configuration, almost whichever setting you have, maybe not if you have the contour max, but generally speaking, any kind of subtle EQ tweaks, the DI signal and the cabinet signal are really not that far off. So to help further illustrate my point, I have fed approximately 10 basses, I don't know, I kind of lost count at this point, of me playing the same song across 10 or a dozen basses with all of the settings set identically, so you can hear the difference in each bass's character shine through this amp while still sounding a little bit sweeter having passed through the amp. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about these Bass Array 2 cabinets. Sitting at the bottom of the stack is the slanted 115, or as the model number goes, the Bass Array 2-115-3 SLT. The Bass Array 2 cabinets are based on the successful and popular design of the original, but now feature all-new Italian-designed loudspeakers, increased power handling, broader frequency response with more detail and mid-range definition, and extended top-end clarity. The 115 is rated at 500 watts with a frequency response of 30 Hz to 18 kHz. This 36-pound cab has a crossover frequency at 800 Hz and is rated at 8 ohms. And sitting on top of it is the straight or non-angled 210 model, otherwise known as the Bass Array 2-210-3 STR. So of course, a lot of the design features that I talked about of the 115 roll over to this 210, the main difference being that it has two 10-inch speakers where the other one has a single 15. However, this 210 cabinet is rated at 600 watts with a frequency response of 40 Hz to 18 kHz. It's a touch lighter at 34 pounds, but still has the crossover frequency at 800 Hz and is rated at 8 ohms. All of the Bass Array 2 cabinets are built with light ply and Baltic birch plywood with heavy-duty textured black vinyl. They have black metal corners and heavy-duty metal recessed handles with a custom curved grille and a unique center pleat to protect the array column. So up to this point, we've been hearing this stack or this array of speakers with a combination of different microphones. And that's largely, if not solely, because I only have one of each microphone. But thanks to the power of reamping, we can send the exact same playing sample through this setup and mic each speaker individually with the same microphone to get a better idea of the differences. And again, because each of those playing examples is the exact same take, I can layer them on top of each other and we can hear what it would sound like if we had 3 RE20s and mic'd them all up at once. Of course, one of the main issues with close miking a speaker using a dynamic or even a condenser mic to a degree is that microphones don't hear like your ears do. And really, I don't know if any microphone could ever truly hear like your ears do in the room standing 6 to 10 feet away, but I'm going to try my best to get close, in which I put this microphone, which is a Sennheiser MKH416, and of the microphones that I have, it's relatively the flattest. It's a condenser mic, it's a shotgun mic. It picks up sound tremendously well up to 5 feet, so I placed it 3 to 4 feet away from the entire stack, pointed kind of just right in the middle of everything, to do my best to simulate what your ear would hear if you were sitting a few feet away playing this amp in your room. Okay, so that is about all of the sound samples I have to show you. I guess the last thing to do is tell you kind of what I thought of it. And again, like I said up at the top, this was my first experience with Gensler. I've seen the name all over the place. I didn't really know that much about it. I'm really glad that Jeff reached out and asked to send me these cabinets, because now I know of another great hi-fi, true to form, true to sound, I guess would be the better way to say that, amplifier series. Now, of these two cabinets, my personal preference, what my ear likes to hear, I'm a little bit more drawn to the 210. The 15 has like a mid thing going on that maybe I'm just going to say I'm not as familiar with. Because when I think of a 15-inch cabinet, I'm generally, my head goes to like a flat wound P-bass hollow body, kind of something of that nature, where it's really dark and round. So maybe my ear just wasn't ready to hear such a full range kind of a thing with that 15. So I really like the 210, I think, because it naturally removes a couple frequencies that my ear just doesn't like to hear anyway. So unfortunately, these have to go back. If I was going to have any of them, if I got my pick at anyone, I'd probably go with the 410, just because I like 10s, and I like the way 410s push air over 210s. But again, that's just a preference thing. Obviously, a 210 and a 115 is one of the more versatile ways you can go with it. So don't let my opinion on the 115 sway you from the 115 if you're a fan of the 115. So I do believe that's just about all I have to say. Again, if you're new here, please consider subscribing, give the video a like. If you hated it, give it a dislike. But either way, leave a comment and let me know what you thought. I think that's about all I have to say, so be safe, and I will see you whenever it is that I see you.